The movement of goods through this vast nation is complex, expensive, and inefficient, resulting in the high unease of doing business and an overall logistics cost that is said to be 14% of the nation's GDP. A robust logistics sector is the need of the hour to propel India to be at par with other developing nations and materialize its dream for becoming a manufacturing giant. Well aware of the importance of the sector, the center, along with initiatives from different states, has been giving a much needed boost to the industry, resulting in its rapid growth over the last few years. The government of Telangana, which under its industrial policy holds logistics among the 14 thrust sectors, sees a great scope for development in the logistics sector. Exploring these untapped opportunities in the logistics sector and drawing a roadmap for achieving goals, the Federation of Telangana Chambers of Commerce and Industry, with support from the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Government of India, is organizing the first international conference on shipping and logistics on the 23rd of November at Novotel, HICC, Hyderabad. With curated panel discussions around shipping, air cargo, pharma, technology, and integrated logistics, the conference will see deliberation on the challenges faced by the logistics and complementary sectors, formulate strategies for sustainable solutions, invite suggestions on innovative strategies, and even explore the commercial viability of the same. I would like to thank our partners, DBS Bank, who's a platinum partner for the event, our gold partners, GMR Cargo, Wisfleet, Batco Integrated Logistics, HMDA Truck Dock Logistics, Zero Miles, Sherpa Logistics Private Limited, MPL, and our silver partners, Cargo Men Logistics Private Limited, ASR Express Limited, Omni Logistics, DSV Global Transport and Logistics, and our associated partners, which include WTC Shamshabad, Pokarna Limited, Herms Logistics Private Limited, Kale Logistics, and SpiceJet. So today, we are here to give you a sneak peek into this much awaited event. We have brought to you a virtual curtain raiser, and we will be soon joined by the moderators of each of the panel discussions who will help us better understand what to expect from the conference. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kadvi Rana from Logistics Insider, and I welcome you to the curtain raiser event of the International Conference on Shipping and Logistics. The International Conference on Shipping and Logistics will see the confluence of CEOs, CFOs, senior EXIM professionals, logistics experts, MSMEs, tech service providers, students, freight forwarders, shipping liners, MMLPs, and warehouses service providers, and all the stakeholders that you could imagine from shipping and the logistics industry. For those of you who would like to be a part of this one-of-its-kind event, please log on to www.ftcci.in, or you can also register yourself from the link given in the description below. So now, without any further ado, let's meet our guests for today's curtain raiser event. First, I would like to call upon Mr. Saurabh Kumar, CEO, GMR Cargo and Chair, Shipping and Logistics Committee, FTCCI. A supply chain and strategy professional with nearly 2 decades of experience in aviation, logistics, infrastructure, and retail sectors, Mr. Saurabh, in his current capacity, is leading the Pan-India Cargo Terminal business, including Hyderabad, Goa, and other new locations. As part of his strategic focus, he's driving initiatives to expand the cargo terminal and its offering to capitalize the opportunities from segments such as pharma, agri, products, warehousing, express, and allied services. He's actively working on projects related to automation and new technology adoption to improve productivity, traceability, and response time. Instrumental in starting the Hyderabad chapter of ACFI and having been served as its first chairman of the Hyderabad chapter during 2019-2021, He, through his active association with industry's bodies, has contributed significantly in identifying challenges, bottlenecks, and working with concerned authorities and ministries to mitigate the same. Mr. Saurabh is joining us today as a moderator for this virtual event. So, welcome to the event, sir, and we are sure you will steer today's virtual event beautifully, giving us and our audiences a precise taste of what to expect from the much awaited International Conference on Shipping and Logistics.
Thanks, Karvi.
So, now, next, I would like to call upon Mr. Ram Prasad Ravi, who will be moderating the first session on the day of the event. Mr. Ram Prasad is a supply chain expert and has been part of the media industry for more than 4 decades now. He has been associated with some of the leading print, electronic, and internet media networks in the country. He launched the first ever shipping and logistics magazine 14 years ago, and he's known for his persistent efforts to make issues of maritime and shipping industry heard by policymakers. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Karvi.
You're welcome, sir. So, uh, now let us all welcome Mr. Satish Lakaraju. He is the Global Head Air Freight and Pharma Wiz. An experienced CXO leading commercial strategy, Mr. Lakaraju has been building teams to last for the future. Passionate about life science and patient safety, he speaks in various forums in India and overseas on the various subjects like unbroken cold chain, infrastructure at airport for cargo handling for pharma, perishable exports, etc. He's known across the industry as a motivational speaker, industry enthusiast, international moderator and speaker, sales trainer, and much more. This list just can keep going. So, he will be joining us at the conference moderating the second session on air cargo and pharma logistics. Welcome to the Curtain Raiser event, sir.
Thank you, Karvi. My pleasure to be on the show.
Pleasure to have you, sir. Next up, I would like to call upon Dr. Ravi Prakash Mathur, Vice President and Global Head of Logistics and Supply Chain Excellence, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories Limited at Hyderabad, India. Dr. Mathur is a supply chain professional and a published author with more than 25 years of experience. He is member of Supply Chain Council and on academic boards of business schools. He speaks regularly at international conferences and at top-ranked universities in India. On 23rd November at the International Conference of Shipping and Logistics, Dr. Mathur will be spearheading the panel discussion on technological advancement in logistics. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Karvi. It's my pleasure to be here.
A pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Now, last but definitely not the least, I would like to call upon Mr. Kamal Jain, Director, Cargoman Logistics India Private Limited. Skilled in logistics management, freight forwarding, and export, Mr. Jain has been involved in building organizations and creating leaders from over 2 decades. An alumni of IIM Indore, he is an experienced professional in international logistics, custom brokerage, and a lot more. Mr. Jain will be moderating the session on integrated logistics at the main event in Hyderabad. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Karvi. A pleasure being here.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you all over here. Now, having met the panelists, I'm sure that our audiences are eager to hear from the experts about the event. So, without any further delays, I would without wasting any time of our audience and the experts, I would request Mr. Saurabh to kindly take over the reins of the curtain raiser. So, over to you, Mr. Saurabh.
Thanks, Karvi. Thanks for the wonderful introduction to the event. The International Conference on Shipping and Logistics being held at Hyderabad, HICC Novotel on 23rd of November. It's my privilege to be moderating and hosting this session of the moderators. I think it's quite rare that you get this opportunity. I think when you approach, I before you could think I said yes, I would want to do it, uh, especially with Satish ji, Ravi, Ram Prasad ji, Kamal Jain ji, and Ravi Prakash Mathur ji. I think it's a great uh, setup, full of intellectuals and people who have been in this industry for more than 3 to 4 decades in their own field, and uh, and I think when we were all discussing about this session, the fact that we are bringing on board on a single platform all the major forms of our transportation and discussing the issues or challenges in each of these makes it quite an interesting panel, as we look ahead. So today, in my role as the facilitator of this introduction, I'll touch upon all the four themes of the panel discussion that's planned for the day of 23rd November. We will have four panels, one each focusing on the air cargo, the second one on shipping. Third one, I think quite interesting. We have added the integrated logistics panel. I think as we see the convergence of various forms of logistics, particularly with impetus the government is giving in having synergies across these forms of logistics that would give those add-on benefits and visibility across the supply chain. I think that's the importance of the third panel, which is the integrated logistics, and fourth, nothing goes without technology. I think that's the setup that we have, and I'll first start with air cargo, which I feel is the fastest mode of transportation, and which carries a lot of value with it. I think with that brief, Satish, over to you. Would like to know the theme of your panel in a little bit more detail from your perspective, which is air cargo with focus on pharma logistics. Satish?
Thank you, Saurabh. I'm super excited about the International Conference on Shipping and Logistics, which is going to happen this month. Given the fact this is the first version that we have put together for the people of Telangana and the country. My session, why it's so interesting for me also to moderate the session is that my panelists basically are all international, covering the largest carriers of the world, which means they come in with a large amount of experience in terms of the type of opportunity that the air cargo can be given. Also, the fact remains that the market size of the air freight market is around 390 billion currently globally, and India is looking at USD 12.47 billion and is expected to reach 16.37. And what the session is going to throw about also is that the government has recently embarked on a journey to become a 10 million ton uh, opportunity by 2030. So, how will we create an ecosystem in which all these factors are discussed, and what are the current bottlenecks and challenges is one thing that we would clearly be discussing, and seeing what are those efficiencies that we can bring in more in terms of transshipments, in terms of building own pallets, and what are the other efficiencies that one needs to build in to bring it in line with the other countries. So I think that is one as far as the air cargo is concerned, Saurabh. And even if you want me to touch upon the pharma aspect during this question, I can also touch on it, because pharma is the lifeline for Telangana in terms of being a landlocked state. Ecargo has played a critical role during the pandemic as well. So I think we have multiple things that we will discuss. I'm really looking forward even for speakers who are coming from the university side in the panel discussion. So I think a lot is in store for us.
Satish, you did mention about the steep growth target, because this is a disciplinary panel discussion covering all forms, including shipping. Will you also cover aspects related to migration of air to ocean and ocean to air, which is happening and which is impacting the pace of growth for air cargo? Can audience expect some coverage on that aspect?
Correct. So what we've realized and what we're going to discuss is that one is the ocean air mode, which is a big amount of discussion for the retail industry, especially the garment industry. The South Asian market, which is Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India together, and then how it goes out of Middle East. Also, shipments which are currently delayed and have to get converted from ocean to air. One of the biggest challenge that we've realized and we have been discussing about it takes 7 to 8 days only to get to back to town. So that's another subject, is how do you want to ease that back to town? While that may not be a very large quantum of air cargo, but even 140 feet container could add to a quite amount of air cargo. So that's the other 2 points that we would want to touch during the session.
Yeah. I've also been interacting with some of the potential delegates and attendees, Satish, and I think one point which did come out is more in terms of the recent, I should say, growth challenge or blip that we all are seeing in terms of, the demand side factors. So, is that also on your agenda? And you think that, there could be a better view in terms of where this will pan out from mid to long term perspective?
True, because even from a carrier standpoint, you would have noticed and seen in the recent past that very large carriers have placed for additional aircraft orders. So one is a lot of capacity is coming in. Your airport itself has been adding back the existing airlines like Singapore Airlines and the rest of them. So one, since the capacity is coming back, what we are also looking at it from multiple angles is that why only pharma, but why, what not else can be bought into certain airports, and what ecosystem needs to be created, because the Indian share of exports currently, even on the perishable side, is far far lower than any other country. It's less than 1%. So even if you can look at that and what ecosystem needs for perishable industry, those will definitely be discussed, because the airlines love to have cargo in their belly space, surely. So those are the areas that we are going to debate, Saurabh.
Thanks, Satish. I think a good view on what's happening in the air cargo sector that you will be covering. Moving to Ram Prasad, Mr. Ram Prasad, your panel is on shipping, and also from a perspective of our region, which is Telangana. It's just that in a way it's a landlocked state. So, what are the theme? What would be the theme? That you would cover in your panel, and how do you think it would benefit the region?
Thank you, Saurabh. First, let me congratulate FTCCI and the Logistics Committee for taking up this initiative, because in the last decade and a half of my experience with the maritime sector, logistics sector, for the first time we are seeing the whole country, including the government and Prime Minister, are talking about logistics, and there is a lot of emphasis. So I think this is a very opportune time for us to organize this conference, and definitely the state administration as well as the participants will greatly benefit out of it. I am looking forward, as you mentioned, with all the expert moderators and the panelists that they are bringing in. Having said that, the shipping and logistics cannot be separated from the global scenario, global impact. What has happened is COVID-19, everybody knows that the amount of pressure and disruption it has caused on supply chain. The after effects still continued for some time. We have seen congestion at ports and shipping lines missing some of the port calls, and containers stagnating at ports. Empty containers were not available for goods. This continued even other countries in Asia came to normal, but in Europe, still the concession continues because of other reasons like trade union calling of strikes and all that. So China, for long, it has not come out of the COVID-19 effects. So this is all, and then followed by the geopolitical issues like Ukraine war. So what is happening is the supply chains are now trying to find the best possible solutions from the traditional way of moving the cargo. So the shipping lines also, to a greater extent, thinking on how to optimize their service lines and all that. So this would be a global scenario, because we have the two biggest shipping lines coming onto our panel, Merckx and MSC. They will throw in what is the current challenges and how shipping lines view it, and we have seen freight rates going through the roof. And then, though it is normalizing, it is still have not come back to the pre-COVID levels. So shipping lines would be throwing in, and the shipping lines are talking about customer demands also have changed to a greater extent post-COVID. So all this we will bring in so that we can create awareness among the stakeholders when we are dealing with shipping lines or global routes. What are the points that we have to keep in mind? From
Mr.
there,
Ramprasad,
yeah,
you mentioned about Merck's and I think the shipping lines being in your panel. People are quite keen in understanding. Many of these shipping lines are also talking about acquiring airlift capacities, either directly or indirectly, and being a part of airship, integrated, offering. What's your take on it? This has not happened in the past. Shipping lines have been operating for last many decades, but we see a move towards air and a lot of capacities. Even Satish mentioned about capacities being coming. How do you think this is going to change? Because I think this is one subject which many of the audience would want to have a view or have a cut or a take on this subject.
Yeah, that's the right question. That in fact we also have kept room for that discussion. A while ago, you were talking to Satish on how the air and sea can be complementary. See, MSA recently got into the air cargo business. Merckx is also looking at. So what is happening is shipping lines. For long, they have been talking about we are the carriers of cargo across the globe. So they were slowly trying to offer the end-to-end services to the customer. So what they have done is they have started the freight forwarding, other logistic service provider services, slowly integrating everything the end-to-end into their value chain. So now air is one mode of transport even they are looking at so that they can integrate. But it is at a very nascent stage. We have to see how it evolves, because both air cargo and sea cargo have a different dynamics in terms of time sensitivity and all that. But I see future definitely shipping lines will get into this complementary services of air and shipping.
You did mention about a lot of capacities being available in the shipping coming up. I think broadly you did indicate that. What I want to know is, you think that there's a scope for discussion as to when the pricing of the containers will it continue to fall, or will it reach the pre-COVID levels, or will it go below that? Do you think there is some thought of you have on this subject? Because I think pricing is a very key aspect for a customer, and he has been seeing the pricing of a container falling from say 15-20K to very close to a few $1,000s as of now, but still it's still above the pre-COVID level. So any thought on a discussion which could give some inputs to the customers or the delegates on this subject?
Yeah, as I mentioned, container freight rates are falling down, but definitely not to the pre-COVID levels what a customer would expect an exporter or importer look at it. Still, my guess is they are close to 100-150% more than the pre-COVID levels. But they would fall to some extent, but not drastically to the pre-COVID levels. Definitely, that's what. Even the shipping lines in their recent earnings call also, they mentioned that the revenues will fall because they made huge profits during this freight hike. But now the revenue started coming down with adjusting to the freight rates. But definitely we will be discussing this, and the leading shipping lines will give an insight on what could be the next 1 year foresight into the freight rates as well.
Thanks, Ramprasad ji. Indeed, an interesting, collation of all the subjects that you'll be covering in your session. Moving to Mr. Kamal Jain. Mr. Kamal Jain, I think you are interesting. You'll be moderating a very, I should say, a very complex subject, which is integrated logistics. It's easier to understand air logistics. It's easier to understand shipping logistics. You have very clear-cut boundaries and domain experts. But when it comes to integrated logistics, the definition is quite wide. It covers, in a way, it covers your 3PLs, 4PLs. It covers warehousing. It covers, interchange between the three modes of transportation. Also, more importantly, that we have not discussed clearly, it also covers railway. Railway, freight movement on the ground. So, tell me about the themes that you would cover as part of your session.
Thank you, Saurabhji. And integrated logistics and the last mile delivery is the most talked in the last few years, because the entire objective of supply chain is to provide efficiency in the system from the point of production to the point of consumption. And all along, while doing the supply chain planning, the route optimization, selection of the port, selection of mode of transportation was given more importance. Later on, the mindset has shifted, and people realize the end-to-end experience in terms of the costing, in terms of turnaround time, in terms of the experience is more important. And to do this particular activity, they have onboarded the logistics service provider who have the end-to-end visibility about it. Earlier, they were just like a catalyst providing a portion of services on the based of the requirement in terms of the transaction enhancement or the route optimization. Now they are the part of the total supply chain planning, acting as an enabler. So in my session, the expert from the industry will share their experience about how they have tackled the various logistical problems and challenges. And from my experience, and all of you can acknowledge that the best learning happens through the peer group learning. And when an atmosphere is created in terms of such type of conferences where the experts are giving a solution to the experts, all are experts, the professionals, but they will be learning from each other experiences, how you tackle the COVID situation, how you tackled the inconsistent freight rate related challenges, shipping challenges, last mile challenges, cold chain challenges. And that atmosphere is going to encourage all of us and provide some of the new solutions and energy to the entire industry. So these are the things we'll be discussing in the particular
So,
integrated logistics.
Kamalji, one of the key points, it comes into mind is, people are talking more about integrated logistics offering currently vis-a-vis what they used to talk maybe a decade earlier. One of the questions which many of the people might have: what is happening? What are things which are changing, which is making this discussion more relevant and more value adding from an end customer perspective? So, will you also touch upon some of those areas in your panel?
Indeed, because people have realized there are certain dark areas which were not discussed about the time consumed in the compliances, the regulator time consumptions. All along, we were providing more efficiency and energy and all efforts into just bringing the goods, taking the goods from one point to other point. But it was taking a lot of time on the paperwork, a lot of time because of the difference in the technology of the two agencies, which we commonly call it as the interoperability lacking. So all those points will be very much touched upon, because the experts or the speakers and panelists are from the wide background. So they will give their experiences in that particular point.
There's a lot of activity happening in the warehousing sector. Lately, if you see, billions of dollars of investment is getting into this sector. And as we are speaking, almost all, many of the major brands are directly doing B2B deals with the infrastructure providers as far as warehousing sector is concerned. And many new players are entering, players from traditional manufacturing background, who thought of real estate as an asset category. But I think now they're getting into warehousing as a standalone long-term asset category. What do you think? Do you think warehousing has a critical role to play in integrated logistics, and how important it is?
See, warehousing is an important and one of the important component of the integrated logistics and distribution system, because the entire range of product includes your agro products, which were ignored and lost because of the lack of warehousing capabilities, and cold chain and pharma. If you add them, they make an good amount of portion in the entire logistics requirement, in this part of the world. So government and the people who are into the infrastructure realized if this can be saved, like agro commodities can be supported by providing proper warehousing infrastructure, a lot of money can be saved by storing them and proper distribution system. So, and indeed, the warehousing as an investment is providing a good return on investment for a long-term purpose and a stable product as the investors also.
Finally, a lot of discussion happening on multimodal logistics park. I think specific policies have come, and there are announcements coming up for multimodal logistics park. Playing a greater role in inland as well as interface with Exim logistics. Where do you feel MMLP has its USP? And you think it's a subject that we need to discuss in our panel?
Indeed, because multimodal logistics park has a role of state government also. There was a gap between the focus of state government and the central government, which will get reduced by such park in terms of the macro level, and at the micro level, it will provide the various solutions in terms of the warehousing, in terms of the terminal, railway yard, and custom clearance facility and distribution system, which will enhance the economic activity in and around the hinterland. And the people will start keeping their units or enterprise near around the multimodal logistics park, which directly or indirectly improve the efficiency of the logistics and the cost.
Thanks, Kamalji. I think it's a good coverage, and I hope we will have some good strategies to take away from this session. Especially, how do you bring all of these in a cluster and have the best efficient mode of interface between all of these? Because I think future, as you rightly said, future is all about having all forms of logistics and all the service provider working seamlessly interconnected. I think that's where I believe that the integrated logistics as a subject and as a concept to be implemented would play a greater role in improving India's competitiveness. Karvi also mentioned about our goal to reduce the cost of logistics vis-a-vis percentage of GDP to single digit. I think it's going to go. I'm sure it's going to help us move in that direction.
And
Thanks,
also
Kamalji.
and also about the logistics performance index, which directly impact the foreign direct investment, and the government and the entire system is working toward. And first time we have started thinking about it to have the better logistics performance index.
Yeah. Moving ahead I should say, not the last of this fourth panel, but I think the mandatory or the most important of the four panels, which is on technology. Dr. Ravi Prakash Mathur, where do you see technology playing a role? People say that logistics sector has been a slow adopter of technology. Given the fact that technology has moved ahead in the last 5 decades. However, we still see the sector struggling and trying to adopt some of these new technologies. So what's your take on it, and how do you feel your session would add more insights into it?
Yeah, thank you, Saurabh, for that question. It's a very provocative question, and I'll not like to be drawn into that at this point of time. That will be like letting the cat out of the bag before the conference day itself. But it's a very pertinent question. But let me start by thanking FTCCI and the Logistics Steering Committee, Shipping Committee for organizing this event. I'm super delighted to be a part of this. So yeah, so your question is valid, but I will not dwell whether on the point that whether the logistics community has been a slow adopter or on an early adopter. But in the session, I think we can surely touch about that point. But what is coming to my mind, and surely what we will discuss also on the panel, is that both from the government sector and from the private sector, there have been significant developments that have been happening on the digital front, on the technology front, and I personally see digital and technology as as the point of convergence where all the three the panels that we have on that day, they will integrate and converge, integrated logistics, shipping and air. So I believe this particular session, for these 3 degrees of freedom, it will be a point of leverage, a point of convergence. And what we will discuss on that particular day is there are two aspects. I think on the government sector, there has been of late a lot of focus and a lot of creation and intervention on the technology side. We are all aware of the national logistics policy that has recently been introduced by the government of India. Earlier to that, there was the PM Gati Shakti, which again is a digital platform for logistics. And I can, at the top of my mind, I can name a few, which is like the United Logistics integrated platform. There is Ease of Logistics e-log platform. There is integration of digital platforms. So there are significant interventions that are already there, across that enable uh, operability with the private sector, operability between the ministries that are focusing on infrastructure creation. That is one. The other part is, of course, the technologies like blockchain, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and of late metaverse. So these are some of the things we'll talk about, and I think we have an ensemble of some thought leaders, and we'll see how the discussion goes. It'll be a free-flowing discussion, but I'm sure we'll hear some very interesting thoughts about technology and digitization,
So Dr.
specifically with.
Madhuri, you have shown us the true curtain without raising it. So I think that's a good way of telling us what's up in the session now, without getting into it. But a couple of thoughts that I had. Most of us have this in mind that technology is expensive, and it would if we go for new technologies, it would make the offering expensive. You need to have new people, new servers, new cloud, new SaaS product, and etc. I hope a discussion on that would also be enlightening for people to assess, yes, the CBA, which is cost benefit analysis process on this subject. Hope you agree, or you have some thoughts, other thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, see, that is the common perception that technology requires investment, technology requires a scale. That is something only for the big players to focus on. And this particular event that we are having is with the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise. So it's a very relevant question that you're asking. But without giving away too much, what I can also comment is that there's technology is also great leveler. So there's a democratization of technology that has happened. So there is an ecosystem that has got created, I think, where there's a space for all sort of players to come and benefit from it. So there are, even if you're a small enterprise out there, there are solutions which can fit your scale. And of course, there are bigger technological platforms which are more suited for organizations of a certain scale. But a very relevant thought, Saurabh, and we'll surely touch upon it in the panel discussion.
One last question I have. I was talking about this panel with some of our industry colleagues, and then I realized there's this question of myth versus reality when you talk about life use cases of blockchain and metaverse in our sector. Covering the entire logistics frame. Many people carry this. Whether these technologies potent? Do they really have the capability of improving or meeting the expectations of the customer, or improving the service level, or giving a better experience of so you think this is also a subject that we should touch upon?
Absolutely, Saurabh. This is the most important subject actually we should touch upon. Beyond the hype and beyond the myth, what are the basic fundamentals of some of these technologies? What are the design principles these technologies are based on? So we'll try to deconstruct that, and we'll try to see whether what kind of use cases are possible. And of course, there's a lot of hype about these technologies, but we'll try to make it more intuitive, try to make it more relatable. And I think even if we can inspire a few of our participants to go back to their workplace, to go back to their organizations, and start investigating and start introspecting about how some of these technologies can add value in their businesses. I think that'll be a great success for us. So yeah, deconstructing, demystifying, making it more approachable, how people can approach it, how people can adopt it into their businesses. That is definitely one of the tasks that is cut out for us.
Thanks, Dr. Mathur. I think before I summarize, I would want one-line message from each of the moderators. Given the discussion we had, it's a message for our potential audience. We'll start with Satish. Satish, you may have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. The one line message that I would want to give everyone is that the myth that air cargo is expensive, I would want to clear during the event that clearly that is something which I intend to do as a global head as well. Or so is that don't consider it expensive.
Ravi, Ramprasad ji?
Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned, for the first time, the whole community, government, stakeholders are coming together to reduce the logistics cost, which is a great benefit to the exporters and importers, the customers of. So this is the platform where they can get a lot of insights into what is happening, because all the sessions are very vibrant, and I'm sure my fellow moderators have brought in expert panelists together. So there is a lot in store for people.
Mr. Kamal Jain?
This conference will be the real integration of all facet of logistics, and you will get to learn a lot of things out of it. Do join on 23rd November at HICC.
Dr. Mathur?
So in the context of the panel that I'll be moderating, I would say the one-liner would be that the future is already here. Let's be ready to face it.
Thanks. I think I thank each one of you. A very wonderful discussion, more questions than answers. But I take away that, yes, we will talk about in detail the challenges with respect to air cargo. What are the myths? We will try to demystify many of the myths. We will talk about the new and emerging trends and have a relevant discussion on how it's going to impact in the near to midterm. We will also talk about the warehousing and multimodal logistics part playing a big role in the integrated logistics. And more importantly, I think we will have a wonderful panel of experts, who will bring in deep industry knowledge in each of these 4 areas. At the end, I think we are looking forward to people moving out of our conference at the end of the day being more enlightened, taking away 1 or 2 key takeaways or key strategic initiatives that they may want to pursue in their own companies and in their own careers. And yes, a memorable day to look forward to the next session. Thanks to each one of you, and I hand it over back to Kavi. Thank you, Kavi. Unmute, please.
Sorry. So thank you, Mr. Saurabh. Now, before we pull the curtain down for this virtual event, I would like to extend my gratitude to all the panelists for joining us today for this virtual curtain raiser and providing us a perfect sneak peek and our audiences a perfect sneak peek on what awaits them at the International Conference and Logistics. Now, for those who would like to be a part of this one-of-a-kind event, please log on to www.ftcci.in. You can also register yourself from the link given below in the description. Thank you and hope to see you in Hyderabad.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you on the conference day.
Thank you.